My wife and I love plants, but we live in a small college apartment and we don't have a lot of room. So we have a lot of experience on learning what are the best plants to grow when you have a small indoor living space. So if you also happen to live in a small apartment or home and don't have a lot of space for plants, but would like to get into indoor gardening, then you're in luck, because in this video, I'm going to share what I think are the top 5 best plants to grow in a small apartment. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video so you don't miss out on any of these tips. And as always, don't forget to wet your plants. Now, our first plant we're going to talk about is the spider plant. The spider plant is a great plant to start with for beginners. It's a very low maintenance plant. It doesn't require a lot of light, so if you don't have a ton of windows, that's totally fine. It starts off really small, but has the potential to grow into a very large plant as you move into bigger apartments or homes. And one of the things I love about it is it grows these little spiderets that you can then take off and propagate to add more plants to your home or to give away to friends. In fact, all of the spider plants we have in our apartment were actually taken from cuttings of my mother-in-law's plant, and so you can really spread the love with these plants. They're also great indoor air purifiers, so if you're in a basement apartment that can occasionally feel a little bit musty, then spider plants are a great solution for that. Our next 2 plants are also recognized by NASA as indoor air purifiers as well, so these are all going to be great for cleaning out the air in your apartment. And the next one we're going to talk about is the Pothos plant. Now, I personally love the Pothos plant. Again, it's super low maintenance and easy to care for, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. But the reason I'm adding it on this list is this is a hanging plant. It's more of a hanging vine plant that drapes over. And now the reason you want a hanging plant in a small apartment is because it provides a lot of other opportunities on where to put plants. If you don't have a ton of window space or a ton of tables or counters that you can put plants on, a hanging plant could be a great solution. If you have high kitchen countertops or bookshelves or a dresser or anything else like that in your apartment, a Pothos plant is a super great plant to put on top of there. It doesn't need a lot of light, so as long as there's a window in that room, it should be totally fine. And I also think it just looks really nice and helps to elevate the space. And something about having a hanging plant up high makes your indoor space feel a little bit larger. Now, we've still got 3 more plants to go, but if you've enjoyed this video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Only about 1% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if this or any of my other videos have ever been helpful to you, it's a great way to say thanks and make sure you don't miss out on any future indoor gardening content. Now, coming up with plant number 3 is the snake plant. My wife and I actually don't have a snake plant yet, but it is number 1 on my list because this thing is awesome. It is incredibly hardy and super low maintenance. It can survive on almost no light, so if you really don't have a lot of windows, this is a great plant to go for. One of my favorite things about the snake plant too is it is naturally very pest resistant. That's one of the most annoying things about growing plants indoors, is you can occasionally have lots of problems with pests. And in a small apartment, that is quite the nuisance to have bugs flying around. But the snake plant doesn't really attract pests. Its leaves are pretty resistant to it. And so it's a great plant to start with if you are not a fan of having bugs in your home. It's also an indoor air purifier, like I mentioned, and one of the coolest things about this snake plant is it is one of the few plants that continues to turn CO2 into oxygen during night. So it's a great plant to have in your bedroom. Some studies suggest that it can actually improve sleep quality. So definitely one I recommend trying out in a small space. And they live for a super long time, so it's something you can bring with you as you go into a different apartment or larger home in the future. And one of my favorite things about plants is watching them grow over time. But they grow so gradually that sometimes it's hard to tell if they're actually making any progress. That's why I developed Wet Your Plants Plant Journal. It's a free app you can download in the description below that reminds you to take photos of your plants over time and turns them into time lapses so you can watch them grow. It also gives you helpful plant reminders about when to water them, fertilize, mist, and things like that. So if you're interested, you can check that out in the link below. Again, it's totally free. Now, next up is one of my favorite plants and one that's not as popular, and that's the climbing aloe. We have a couple of these guys in our house and I love them. First off is they actually don't like a ton of light, so they're great for small apartments without a lot of windows. If we put these in our west or south facing windows where it gets the most light, they curl up and start to kind of burn and die. However, if you have them far away from a window or in an east facing window with indirect light, or we've even had them in a bathroom in a north facing window that gets almost no light, and that's the happiest they've ever been. They don't require much water at all, and I also just think they're kind of goofy and fun, and they grow all these little pups that you can then easily pop off and just replant as a new version. We started off with just 2 of these. I think we're now up to like 5 because we've replanted some of the pups, and we've also given several away to friends and family. But because they thrive so well on low light, they're a really great plant to have in a small apartment, and they're very beginner friendly. Don't require a lot of care at all. Now, the final plant I recommend if you have a small apartment is actually any succulent. Pretty much any succulent goes great in a small apartment. They're typically very small when you first purchase them. They're really cheap from a store, and they're super hardy and low maintenance. My wife and I are growing about 30 houseplants in our small apartment, and one of the reasons it doesn't feel crowded is over half of those are succulents. You can pack them into a windowsill super easily. They don't need a ton of care or attention, and they kind of just thrive on their own, basically. There's also so many different varieties that it can make your windowsill look really cute to have a bunch of these different little succulents hanging out there. Now, if you're new to plants and you're scared that you're going to kill your succulents, don't worry. I've made an entire video guide about how to care for succulents to help them thrive and make sure you don't accidentally kill them off. So you can check that video out right here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, don't forget to wet your plants.